that retired Commissioner Guanzon did an FB Live, but some of the scenes were not caught on cam. So was there an opportunity for Commissioners Guanzon and Ferolino to talk, to shake hands? Did anything like that happen po?
Well, prior to the start of the ceremonies, of course, they were all in a group, right? They were all commissioners. I did not see specifically whether or not the two addressed each other, whether or not they actually had a conversation, but they were all in the same place at the same time in the same room. Now, once the proceeding started, uh, they had assigned seating, right? Protocol. And after that, Commissioner Guanzon took her seat also in the front, in the place of honor, together with the other honorees. And then after that, um, after the conclusion of the ceremony of the end bank session, it was dinner. And I think at that point, medyo each commissioner went to their own table of guests because they had guests there. So and that was it for the rest of the night.
Director, how is the morale of the entire Comelec family in light of course, this very recent controversy, and others even call it a crisis? Kamusta po? And how are we proceeding in terms of our preparations in the midst of this quote unquote crisis?
Well, I think the characterization of all of this as a crisis is something that you would hear outside of the Comelec. But inside the Comelec, it's really about just doing the work. Okay. Inside the Comelec, people understand what's going on. They understand what the demands on each commissioner are, and what the difficulties each commissioner would face when we talk about things like promulgating decisions or coming up to these decisions. One particular thing of note is, of course, that if you remember, Commissioner Ferolino adverted to some of her staff getting COVID. Well, this is very real for people in Comelec. We do feel the effect of COVID, and we see how work slows down because of COVID. So, for people in the Comelec, it's something that's easy to understand, something that's comprehensible, no? Which I guess in the political furor outside of the Comelec, people tend to forget. People tend to think of things like, nagkasakit ng COVID, that's just an excuse. There can be no excuses, and these are absolutes that people talk about, when dealing with things that are not within their normal experience. And so there's the difference, right? Dito sa Comelec, we see this all the time, and we understand that there are delays that happen. We also understand that we do not throw the word delay around lightly. Okay, when you talk about delay, kasi what you're saying is that you're missing a deadline. But if there is no deadline to speak of, right, then you're more careful about saying whether this is a delay or this is taking time, etc. So because of this difference in perspective and perception, the morale in the Comelec is uh, fairly good, no? But last night it was a little muted, and I think that's understandable then because you were looking at the departure of three commissioners, right? You're looking at the departure of three commissioners who, for better or worse, defined the last 7 years of the Comelec. Right? Um, Mostly people were saying, "What's it going to be like tomorrow?" Right? What's it going to be like tomorrow? I found myself asking that question as well. One of the things that the chairman noted was that there was a there was close coordination between myself and the commissioners, and him in particular when we deal with public matters, right? And the chairman, of course, would often reference me. So para bang, what now? Right? So we're all waiting to see what's going to happen. For example, I am going to submit my courtesy resignation as designated spokesman to the acting chair. to give her the opportunity to make that designation herself. So it's a time of great change here in the Comelec as well. And so for that reason, I would say that the morale, while good, was definitely a little muted.
Director, let me just pick up from what you said just a few seconds ago. You're tendering your resignation as a courtesy to the acting chairperson. You do this every time there is a change of guard, so to speak, Director?
Yes, that's right. I do it every time there's a change in the chairmanship, whether it's an actual chairmanship or an acting chairmanship. I offer my resignation as spokesperson.
So one of my last few questions, Director. You mentioned about there being no delay to speak of in the first place. You're referring to an institutionalized type of delay, sir, because I know we're talking about the Marcos cases here. We're talking about three consolidated cases, and as far as I know, the rules of the Comelec are silent as far as consolidated petitions are concerned. That is
That's
correct, Director?
that's correct. That's correct. And it's very important to see things with that perspective. Again, because it's very easy to characterize things we don't fully appreciate. No, and again, um, some people might be operating on a different timetable as others are, and it's very important to put that to make that very clear.
Director, with your indulgence, just one final question for this round, sir. Talking about a possible reshuffle, which has yet to be determined in the February 9 session. The COMELEC has its own rules, and it is within its power and authority to also amend those rules as it deems necessary, right, sir? And therefore, as far as the Marcos cases are concerned, it can go either way. Commissioner Casquejo can still vote depending on what the decision will be by the ANBank, or he can move to the other division, preside there, and can no longer vote. But the bottom line is the COMELEC is within, has the authority and the power to amend its rules at any given time.
That's
Right.
correct. That's correct. And I'm not even sure where that's coming from. No, that this notion that Commissioner Casquejo can no longer vote. Uh, I don't think that's ever been discussed, at least not in those terms. Although I have heard it from outside of the Comelec.
Thank you, Director, for this round. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, good afternoon po ulit. We have Dwight from Rappler. Dwight?
Morning, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Dwight.
Ayan. Yan. Sir, just to be specific, where can we find po kaya the 15-day rule mentioned by Commissioner Guanzon? I check lang the rules of procedure, tapos ang na-mention lang doon 10 days. So I wonder if parang, is there a specific resolution na parang we know that may 15 days? Do the other commissioners know about this 15-day policy? Is this a tradition?
I imagine the commissioners must know the rules that govern their actions. If there is a resolution, I'm not quite sure about that. No, I heard that a resolution was mentioned. I'll have to check on it with the clerk of the commission. But as far as I know, and as long as I've been with the COMELEC, that has mostly been a rule among the divisions. No, it's the divisions that set this rule for themselves, so that there is some sort of systematic progress in the disposal of the cases. But let me check that. I believe that there is a resolution to that effect.
Sir, and just to clarify, that's discretionary and not mandatory, because we know, and also in the history of the COMELEC, na syempre may mga ilang kaso na it takes more than 15 days or even a month for a division to issue a ruling.
Of course, it's directory. It's not mandatory.
Mm-hmm. And Commissioner, can you Director, can you walk us through the process of how a case will go through? Like, for example, kung apat na lang sila ngayon, parang do the two commissioners in every division have to be in consensus before malabas yung ruling? For example, doon nga sa Marcos case, same din po ba sa NBank?
No, they don't. There's no minimum consensus required. When you talk about three commissioners making a ruling, it's the main decision that controls. Now, sometimes the main decision ends up in the minority pag nag-dissent ng dalawa. But that's still the main decision. Ganun yan. No? It is as they do in the Supreme Court, sometimes the dissent becomes the main opinion, especially if more justices side with the dissent rather than with what the original position was. Okay, I haven't seen that happen in the Comelec, to be honest. Um, so I'm saying that that's one possible way of doing it. But in general, you're looking at waiting for the main decision because no other opinion is controlling, right? No other opinion is controlling. So whether or not lumabas yung dissent or lumabas yung separate opinion, whether it's concurring or whatever, it really has to bow before the main decision. It's the main decision that ultimately controls the outcome.
So just
And who writes the main decision? Yan yung pinagbobotohan nila. That's they raffle the case, and then they decide what the vote will be, right? And each commissioner will say, ito position ko, ganyan ganyan, and then the ponente will write their decision.
Sir, just to make sure I understand, kasi sir, di ba apat lang sila? So parang sa first division, magkakaroon ng dalawang commissioners. Tapos sa second division, dalawang commissioners. So, kunwari wala pang bagong appointees ang Comelec. So, yung dalawang commissioner, for example, sa first division, paano po kunyari pag, can they split their vote?
Normally, ang nangyayari is magkakaroon ng isang guest commissioner for the other division, right? So, just to fill up the three slots. And that's what they normally do. Now, I don't know what they're going to do now. I don't know if they're going to dispose of many cases very quickly by coming up with some sort of arrangement. Malalaman natin yan, Dwight, sa Feb 9. But in general, ang nakikita natin in the past is that kapag dalawa lang yung nakaupo sa isang division, they would get a third member from the remaining commissioners and have them sit there. Now, ano yung extent nung participation ng tao na yon? That depends on that guest commissioner. Okay, we're just calling it guest because I have no other term for it.
Sir, and dahil hindi pa final, dahil nga mag-meet pa sila sa February 9, we can say na hindi pa final yung sinabi ni Commissioner Guanzon a few days ago na si Commissioner Inting will be the first division presiding commissioner, tapos si Commissioner Casquejo will be moved to the second division. Those were not yet final.
You know what? I think she was referring to things that they discussed in executive session. So I really cannot say whether she's right or wrong because I wasn't there. But as far as I know, there has been no official declaration of that sort of movement yet.
Sir, the debates, I know you already asked this question before, but if you will indulge me, sir. Marcos declined to attend the presidential forum tomorrow, citing conflict in schedules. We know that these debates are an avenue for people to really know their candidates. So when someone snubs an event like this, is this a red flag for the Comelec, in your opinion?
Not a red flag for the Comelec. It could be a red flag for the voters, absolutely, but not for the Comelec. Comelec doesn't care either way if they come or not. No, ultimately, what Comelec cares about is whether or not the public will have an opportunity to interrogate the candidates, so to speak, no? To interrogate their positions, to interrogate their beliefs, and so on. Whether or not they come to the debate doesn't really matter to the Comelec. It matters to the people. And I think it's very important that in recognition of how important it is to the people, that we acknowledge that they failed to show up, right? It's not going to be glossed over. It's not going to be ignored. They're going to have a podium right there with their name on it and no face above it. So that's their lookout.
So on the printing of ballots, can you give us lang, sir, a picture or nuances of how complicated it might be for the Comelec to reprint some of the ballots? Because that's parang one of the scenarios that at least siguro parang medyo floated before, in case for some reason the Supreme Court decides to stop or stop the printing of ballots or order the reprinting of some of the ballots?
Well, it's pretty complicated, Dwight. First of all, you're talking about ballots that have to have unique characteristics per location, right? For example, if we're talking about a national level candidate, um, you're not just reprinting ballots for a particular location, okay? But you're reprinting ballots for all locations in the Philippines, and there are hundreds of ballot phases. These ballot phases refer to the differences from place to place. For example, a ballot that is going to be used in Quezon City will have Quezon City on the header. It will not have Mandaluyong City on the header para hindi sila magkapalit, right? But if you have a correction to be made for senatorial position in Quezon City, hello, you're going to have to use to make that correction for everyone else. For local candidates, it's a little easier because you're not reprinting the whole nation. You're just reprinting a particular place. So that's a little easier. But ultimately, it boils down to the number of ballot phases that have to be redone. Number two, you're also talking about the serial numbers of the ballots. Okay? Ballots are serialized, meaning to say each ballot is identified by a specific serial number which has a place in a series. Kaya nga serial, di ba? And that series is necessary for many reasons, including the tracking of these ballots, where they go, where they are they used properly in the right place. So these are the two things that at the printing level make it difficult, right? But there's another aspect that we have to consider. We have to consider also yung paggawa ng ballot mismo before it is even printed. Because remember, the ballots are printed from a digital template, from a digital master copy. Before all of the printing complications, you're talking about fixing that template muna. That is probably the easiest, okay? Because we do have an election management system where you can basically do all of this on software. Okay? So ito yung tatlong aspeto na magagalaw if we need to reprint.
One last request from my end, sir. Can we get a soundbite about Commissioner Socorro Enting being appointed as chairman? Parang what acting chairman, what has she done in the past 2 years as a Comelec commissioner? What has she been busy about?
Okay. Commissioner Inting is a alumna of the Court of Appeals, where she served for 9 years as a CA justice. Prior to that, she served in various capacities in various courts, I think totaling almost 20 or more than 20 years of judicial experience. When she came into the Comelec, one of the things one of the assignments that she was given was to handle the Gender and Development Committee. And she has taken the Comelec from one of the requirements for gender in government offices is what they call the attribution of budget for gender purposes. And she has taken the Comelec from around 7% attribution to almost 70 to 80% attribution. And this was through her leadership. She has been very active in designing and streamlining the judicial processes of the Comelec. Again, drawing on her experience as a CA justice. So she's able to work with the Office of the Clerk of the Commission, with the Election and Election Controversies and Adjudication Department for processes and procedures internally. Okay? So she does that for the Comelec. No? She works on the internal structures that allow us to streamline the handling of cases, which is why over the years makikita mo again and you'd have to look at the data, right? You'd see that there's an increase in the speed at which Comelec resolves a lot of these cases.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dwight.
Thank you, Dwight. Sir, ang next pa is Miss Tina of GMA. Miss Tina.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon po.
Good afternoon.
Sir, after the retirement of the three members of the Unbank, does Malacanang need to seek an exemption from the Comelec from the appointments ban?
Well, no, not naman. I guess it just makes sense that Comelec itself would or appointments to the Comelec would certainly be an exceptional instance. But to my knowledge, that has not been required in the past. Again, this is a clearly necessary appointment.
Sir, former Commissioner Louis Guia yesterday broached the idea of the president appointing or making an ad interim appointment to ensure that the appointee will be able to sit right away. Have you heard that this will be what will be happening next week, sir?
It is possible, of course. I did not see Commissioner Gia's interview or heard the statement, but I expect that he's talking about appointments made while Congress is not in session, right? And an appointment made while Congress is not in session, yes, that appointee can assume office right away. The challenge there is that is the appointee has to lose their job if they are not confirmed when Congress resumes session, right? Which means that if they held an appointed position prior to their appointment, that yes, they would lose that job and they would have nothing to return to. That's why a lot of nominees opt to just get a nomination, which is to say, to wait until the CA is able to affirm or deny to confirm or deny their appointment before actually taking it on. Um, is it possible that the president will do it in the next few days or while Congress is not in session? Absolutely. There's no prohibition against that. And of course, the president has his own mind.
So, sir, will that not make things more complicated? Kunyari, if the appointee is not sure if he will be confirmed or not, baka hindi na muna rin niya i-accept?
Well, that's possible, and we've seen many appointees like that, no? Because they don't want that uncertainty. They have not assumed office right away. Will that complicate matters? In a sense, yes, because obviously, if you appoint someone who refuses to assume office, then that's an appointment you're not able to make for someone who is willing to take on the job right away, di ba? So I guess that's really something that the executive will have to deal with, no? If they appoint someone, then sana we can hope that this person will be willing to take the job on right away.
Sir, how will that affect all the pending cases before the Comelec?
It won't affect the pending cases, but it will affect the work of the commissioners, no? Because they'll have very few of them. They really can't afford any one of them to be absent at any point, no? Because otherwise they lose their quorum and no business will be done. But as far as the decisions are concerned, I guess yes, there is a possibility that some decisions would not be promulgated as rapidly as they might. But ultimately, I don't think that it will have any significant or damaging effect on these cases.
Opo. Sir, last lang po. Ika-clarify ko lang po yung sinabi nyo kanina that members of the division will meet and discuss what their vote will be, and then afterwards, the ponente will write the decision.
Yes.
So nauuna po pala na alam na nila lahat yung votes nila before the ponensya is written?
That's normally the case because there's consultation, Tins. There's consultation. But at that point, their decisions are not really final yet, no? Because it has happened in the past that they come to a decision, they say, oh, ako magde-dissent ako or ako agree na ako, and then they read the ponensya and then they say, tama ka. And so they change their mind. Pwede ba yan? Pwede ba yan? but that's just the initial consultation that we're talking about.
Mm-mm. Tapos you mentioned kanina, sir, that whatever the vote is, yung ponensya is the main decision kahit natalo siya na 1 versus 2,
Yeah.
yung dalawa against the ponensya.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tina. Sir, we have Greg from TV5. Greg, go ahead.
Hi, sir. Sir, clarify lang dun sa about Commissioner Casquel losing a vote sa first division. Com Guanzon kasi was specific po the other day when she said Com Casquejo will be transferred to second division starting today, February. Now, since nabanggit po ninyo na wala pa namang official announcement about that, tama po ba yung understanding ko na Com Casquejo can still vote sa first decision until magkaroon ng changes sa February 9?
Kaya ba siya hindi makakaboto kasi ililipat siya? Yun pala
Yes,
yun.
sir.
Okay. Again, Greg, I think she may have been referring to things that they spoke about in executive session, which I am not privy to, so I really can't say anything about that. But again, since wala pa namang official na nalilipat, then it stands to reason that if he wants to come out with a decision today, then he can do that. But again, we're all waiting on the ponensya, the main decision.
Sir, now na we're down to 4-member on bank, some are thinking na baka mas mahirap for the Comelec to prepare for the elections. But to hear from someone who's with the Comelec, could you say na mas mahirap nga?
Yeah, this is not necessarily true. Remember, when we talk about running elections, you're talking about setting in motion preparations that were put in place while there were still 7 of them, or at least 6 of them, kasi medyo late na rin dumating si Commissioner Bulay. So, you're talking about preparations that were set in motion when there were still 6 of them, and now we're at the stage where we're implementing these procedures. We're implementing these processes. And a lot of this now has gone from the level of policy, where it's the commissioners that call the shots, to the level of operations, where it is now about fulfilling policy. Okay, so that's what we're doing now. In terms of supervision of the elections, well then yes, there are challenges. It makes it difficult for the commission, but in the sense that I referred to earlier, that they have to have a quorum at all times. Because if a matter ever gets elevated to them, they're going to have to sit as a quorum or with a quorum in order to get anything done. That's the challenge for them. That's what makes it difficult. But in terms of getting things going, not really a problem.
So, sir, if we are gonna talk to the public, would you say that this parang walang concern kahit na mag-appoint o hindi man si Pangulo ng 3 pang posibleng mga dadagdag sa on-bank in the coming days?
Well, I don't want to say that because I don't want to detract from the sense of urgency for appointing a new commissioner. But what I can say is that the Comelec is not crippled. All right, it makes it a little difficult, but it is not crippled. We can continue, but this does not, as I said, detract from the urgency of these new appointments.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greg. Sir, we have a question from the inbox from Miss Mads Villar of Net25. She was asking po if we already have the list of updated number of voters per municipalities. If meron daw po, pwede daw po bang makahingi?
I think we've already released that. Siguro we'll just make it available to iTunes because it's voluminous. Maraming data yan. So we can release that on iSteam. I believe that might also be available on the website, but it's a little harder. So
okay, so thank you. Then, sir, we have a question also from Sir Samuel of Business Mirror. Itatanong lang po namin kung ilang candidates na po ang nakasecure ng permit from the Comelec Campaign Committee to conduct on-site election activities. And if may data din po sila kung ilan ang applications ang na-deny. Maraming salamat po.
The Comelec Campaign Committee is preparing several announcements even as we speak. So I think we'll have to wait for that, Sam. We will also arrange to have the campaign committee hold a press briefing with you, hopefully within the week. Okay, there's just organizing right now.
Then, sir, we have another question from Miss Donna of Inquirer. How was Comelec affected by Guanzon's accusations or actions?
That's a difficult question because that's very subjective. No, obviously, not everyone was happy. Not everyone was sad about it either, right? But as an institution, tuloy lang kami. No, we keep on working, we keep on doing what's expected of us. And again, as I said earlier, this is something that we understand, right? The frustration of a lot of people, calling this a crisis for the Comelec. This is a matter of perception from the outside of the Comelec. But inside the Comelec, things are still continuing. Work is still happening. There's no sense of anything stopping. You know what I'm saying? Tuloy lang. Okay. Of course, I guess everyone would hope for different, that there were no reasons like this for people to be concerned. I think that's a universal hope within the Comelec. But ultimately, we understand that every election brings its own set of challenges with it. And it just so happens that this elections, ito yung challenge na hinaharap natin. And for the Comelec, we simply have to step up and prove to the public that the elections are in good hands.
Thank you, sir. Then we have another question from Aaron Rojas of SMNI. Sir, may reminder po ba kayo para sa mga kandidato na may mga naglalakihang billboard, electronic billboard sa EDSA and other places?
Wala, kasi hindi pa naman bawal eh. Pero February 8, pagdating ng February 8, then that will be problematic, and we will inform them ahead of time that they will have to take down all of these previously posted materials that are in violation of our rules. But for now, I guess enjoy the last few days that they're still outside the ambit of our regulation.
Thank you, sir. Then we have another question from Sir Gerard Naval of Malaya. May information na po ba regarding possible appointments of 3 new officials? Will there be an appeal from the unbanked for President Duterte to immediately make the appointment given the proximity of the elections?
There will be no appeal from the Commission on Bank. Again, as I said earlier, we are aware, or we trust that the executive is aware of the timelines that we're dealing with, and of the demands on the new appointees when they do come. So we're going to leave it up to the discretion of the appointing authority. Do we have any inside info? We never do. Information like that may come to individual commissioners. It is possible na napag-uusapan yan, or na bubulungan sila na ito si ganito ang i-appoint, ganyan. But nothing actionable, nothing official.
Then, sir, we have another question from Ms. Karen Villanda of PTV. Director, paano po makakaapekto na in session ngayon ang Congress sa kanilang mag-appoint ng bagong commissioner si Pangulong Duterte? What if magkaroon ng delay? Kakayanin po ba ng Comelec na 3 lang ang commissioners ngayong mag-eleksyon? Especially may mga nakabinbin pa pong petition. Salamat po.
Ma'am Karen, 4 po ang commissioners na nakaupo sa atin. We have Acting Chair Suchi Inting. You have Commissioners Marlon Casquejo, Amy Ferolino, and Ray Bulay. So that's 4 commissioners. 1 chair, 1 acting chair, and 3 commissioners, if you want to put it that way. Yung appointment now, kapag in session ng Congress, means that the appointee is actually a nominee, cannot assume office right away. So they're going to have to wait. Now, kapag nag-recess ang Congress nang hindi na natitake up sa Commission on Appointments, I guess that's technically a bypass, which means that they will have to be reappointed anyway. So I don't expect that an appointment will come within the next couple of days.
Then, sir, we have a question from Sir Robertson. Hanapin ko lang po. Parang nawala yata yung question. Wait lang, sir. From Sir Robertson of Philstar, what will happen po sa consolidated disqualification cases versus Marcos Jr. after Guanzon's retirement? I-raffle po ba or retain kay Commissioner Ferolino ang ponente? And may time pa po ba to discuss or resolve the petition at least 95 days before the May 9, 2022 elections?
For now, it will stay with the ponente, of course. Again, subject to any movement in the division composition, no? But we'll have to wait until that's settled before we can answer in depth. As far as whether or not there's still time, of course there's still time. Kaya yan.
Then, sir, we have another question from for second round na po si Miss Donna. Sir, we have Melissa. Melissa, go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Sir, more on anticipatory lang because February 8 na po yung official campaign period. That's next week. Sir, just to reiterate, what are the activities that aspirants are doing now that they cannot do as candidates during that once the campaign period starts?
Well, they can't campaign willy-nilly. They have to secure campaign permits from the campaign committee, which is why the campaign committee will be publishing its rules and regulations in the next coming days. But that's about it. No, they obviously can't post in places that are not common poster areas. But for the most part, it's actually interesting because I've been going around the city and a lot of places actually don't have as many posters as they used to be. No, for the most part, I've seen these posters attached to common poster areas, billboards or identified fencing in parks, etc. And not too many streamers or not too many posters are in evidence. I might just be going to the wrong places of town, but this is something that they're going to have to be more careful about in the coming days. I realize that while I say that, supporters might also be gearing up to increase the number of posters of their chosen candidates or their principals, but that's going to be problematic for them because Comelec will have a takedown operation for these illegally posted materials.
Sir, and dun sa mga activities na may pang-paraffle, pabigay ng ayuda, like
Bawat naman talaga yan. Vote
Yeah.
buying yan. You can't give anything of value to your supporters to encourage them to vote because you might say that it's for some other reason, but none of us were born yesterday, so we all know that it's going to be for vote buying purposes. And unfortunately, in terms of vote buying, you're going to need a complainant talaga, right? So this is very important for those of you who see things that are being done that you feel are vote buying activities. Please file a complaint and please stay with the complaint so that we can prosecute it to the finish. But yes, I suppose my mistake. I thought that went without saying, but you can no longer give money away and say that it's for ayuda or that this is simply my liberality. You cannot walk around with a cash gun and make it rain. You cannot do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Melissa. Sir, up next is Sir Dante Amento, pero bigla pong ayun. Sir Dante,
Hello.
go ahead.
Hi, Sir James.
Hello.
Apo, sir, pasensya na sa tanong ko ha. First time bit ko sa Comelec. Sir, may rule ba talaga ang komisyon na halimbawa bumaba ang isang commissioner, magkaroon ng balasahan o reshuffling sa mga commissioner po? I mean, nag-retire ang chairman?
Walang rule na ganyan. Walang rule na automatic na pag may nag-retire, maglilipatan ng division. Walang ganyan. Remember, hindi natin pwedeng tignan na yung first division ay mas mataas sa second division so that pag nag-retire si first, may aakyat. Hindi ganun eh. Di ba? Equal ang dalawang division na yan. So, kung magkakaroon ng movement, it's about what they agree on. right? Pag-uusapan nila yan, magka-agree sila dyan. Pero hindi yan hard and fast rule.
Sir, pangalawa sir, si ano ngayon ang acting chair, si Commissioner Inting.
Yes.
Pwede rin po siyang makaboto ba sir sa isang kaso kasi chair siya, acting chair po.
Ang normally ang acting chair ay ang chair, whether acting or in their own right, hindi yan bumoboto sa mga cases sa division. Okay? Simply because the chairman is usually the tiebreaker pagdating sa unbank. Because remember, lahat ng division decisions can be appealed to the bank, and the bank cannot have an even number of decision makers.
So tama sir, granting for the sake of argument, parang ano na lang natin, mailipat siya sa first division, presiding commissioner siya doon. So hindi rin siya pwedeng bumoto. Parang tama sir.
Hindi siya pwedeng bumoto kasi hindi na siya part ng division.
Okay. Sir, lastly sir, nabanggit na rin ni ComG nung nakaraan. Parang ang mangyayari sa ngayon, wala ng mga commissioner na ipapadala sa mga probinsya to oversee the election preparations iba't ibang provinces.
So far, wala naman. I think it's been that way for quite some time now. Napapadala lang yung mga commissioners pag medyo maliliit na elections, no? Like for example in Palawan, obviously meron tayong commissioner in charge for that particular exercise. But pagdating sa mga malawakang halalan, halimbawa barangay and SK elections or yung 2019 national and local, hindi naman sila talaga nagkalat sa iba't ibang probinsya. Dati yon, a long time ago, but we haven't done that for quite a while.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sir Dante. Sir, for the second round na po, we have Miss Ina of ABS-CBN. Miss Ina, go ahead po.
Commission Director, just going back to the disposition of cases, as far as the cases already raffled and already filed, already raffled and deliberated on by the two divisions, there's really not much of a problem despite the current membership, right, sir? Because the majority rule is a majority of two. Each division is composed of 3 members, and I know that you've spoken of this before. In fact, we saw this in Buena Fe, Commissioner Socorro Inting and co ruling on it. For as long as there is unanimity by the 2 members, there is no need for an additional third vote, right, sir? And therefore, as far as the pending cases are concerned, including the Marcos cases, we can just go ahead with the disposition, right, sir?
Yes, correct.
Sir, to your knowledge, Director, is there a circulated draft already from Commissioner Ferolino, the circulated draft of the ponensya? Or so wala pa talagang circulation, sir?
Wala pa ako nakikita.
Director, as far as reshuffles are concerned, though there is a particular rule on the designation of the 2 most senior, but it still has to be formal for it to be executed, sir. And yes. Of course, on top of that, possible changes pa, right, sir? There has to be either an order or resolution po, sir. Tama
absolutely,
po.
Absolutely.
Sir, regarding the changes in alert status, we're very fluid right now. In fact, we're now converted to alert status 2. And hindi na tayo naglalabas ng mga updates and advisory precisely because you already released earlier on yung alert status, sir, yung mga categories and the corresponding prohibitions and allowable acts during the campaign period, sir. No? So just to remind siguro, sir, yung mga people on the ground na meron talaga ng existing na rules kung ano yung bawal at ano yung pwede pag nag-adjust po yung status.
Ms. Ina, subject to a later press conference by the National Campaign Committee, yes, absolutely. We do have category levels. We've come out with a resolution regarding that. And we have defined what is doable within these category levels. For example, if you had a high risk level in a particular place, then you'd expect tighter restrictions in terms of the number of people that can attend your rallies, in terms of people that can fit in your vans, etc. Of course, the more relaxed the alert level status is, then the less restrictive these rules will be. Now, again, these rules are already a matter of public record. We will explain the further details of the operationalization of these rules, including the process of securing permits. This will be announced by the campaign committee in due time.
Sir, have we already published the schedule for the e-rallies through your platforms, of course, the official platforms of the Comelec? Na-upload na
We haven't yet. We've made the we've done the rally, we've completed the rally, but we haven't had the opportunity to publish it yet. Maybe this week.
You mean the raffle, Director? You've had the raffle.
We had a raffle for the slots, but the actual slot assignments have not been published yet.
Sir, one last point, sir. Before the retirement of the 3 members of the ANBank, there was no ruling whatsoever regarding the use of face shields, sir. It still remains as far as the resolution is concerned.
No, I have a pending request for clarification on that particular thing. I don't want to say what I'm recommending, but I'm asking the bank to update that particular bit of policy.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ina. Sir, we also have a question from Ms. Donna of Inquirer. Can Commissioner Casquejo still vote in the first division contrary to Guanzon's claim?
I cannot speak to Commissioner Guanzon's claim because, again, like I said, she was referring to information that I do not have. No? Her information is based on a discussion in executive session na hindi ko naman dinaluhan. So I really can't say whether or not tama yung conclusions natin tungkol sa sinabi niya. Pasensya na. We'll wait on February 9.
Then another one, sir, from Ms. Mads of Net 25. May nangyari na ba dati na kulang yung members ng commission sa panahon ng eleksyon? Gaya ngayon na 3 po ang kulang.
Oo naman. Oo naman. In fact, the 3 commissioners who left, 2 of those were part of what was called a short commission when they started their terms. No? There was only Chairman Abbas, there was Commissioner Guanzon, there was Commissioner Alpareño, and I forgot who the 4th one was. But ganun din, 4 lang sila. Nangyayari talaga to. This is because of the staggered terms of the different commissioners, which is under the law, of course.
Sir, these next 2 questions are actually may parehong tema po. Clarification from Sir Robertson Ramirez of Philstar. Clarify lang po yung resignation ni Sir James as spokesperson. Has it something to do with what happened in the Comelec in the past few days? And
No.
then, yan sir. Then, a question also of the same theme from Dwight of Rappler. Even if you are resigning as a matter of courtesy, you won't decline naman, sir, if you are reappointed as spokes.
No, I won't decline. And as you pointed out, it is a matter of courtesy, and it's something that I've done since 2007. 2007 was when I was appointed. Was when I was designated spokesperson, and we've had several changes in leadership since then. And at every point, I've always tendered my resignation as spokesperson. I guess that's just something that you should do.
Sir,
Walang kinalaman yan sa event.
okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, there has been no other questions from the chat box and no raised hands. I think we are done with today's press briefing, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
sir.
Good afternoon.
Have a good day ahead.
Thank you, sir.